Hey church, welcome to Wisdom Thursday, and today we are looking at Proverbs chapter 11. If you're yet to read Proverbs chapter 11, please pause and do so now. So today in this chapter there are a number of themes that pop up. You've probably noticed, I'm sure a number of things drew your attention. And the one theme I want to zoom in on today, the one that really jumped out to me as I was reading through, was the theme of money and finances. Right? We see talk of money in verses 1, 14, 15, 18, 24, 25, 26, and 28. So I want to deal with these proverbs under three different headings. Firstly, money and dishonesty. Secondly, the wisdom regarding generosity. And thirdly, the limits of money. So let me just straighten my camera. Let's follow through with these together. So firstly, money and dishonesty. Let's have a look at verses 1 and 18. Verse 1, the Lord detests dishonest scales, but accurate weights find favour with him. Verse 18, a wicked person earns deceptive wages, but the one who sows righteousness reaps a sure reward. These proverbs are speaking of dishonest gain. The two examples given here are dishonest scales, that's when you weigh out your product with dishonest weights, and earning deceptive wages. The Bible speaks of the importance of being honest with our money. It speaks a lot about the benefits of money, but then it warns us against the dangers of money, our temptation toward greed. We see this everywhere in the Bible, don't we? New Testament, Old Testament, teachings of Jesus in the Proverbs, everywhere, right? So in our desire to get money or build wealth or provide for our families, we may sometimes be tempted to cut corners, to do something maybe not even illegal, but maybe just a little bit immoral to try to benefit ourselves. Some things to consider for us in our context may be our honesty and integrity with our taxes. Or maybe it's whether or not our super or other investments are invested ethically, or are they invested in something that is harming humanity or God's creation. Maybe we're meant to think about how productive we are in our workplaces. So, money and dishonesty. The second thing we're given is wisdom regarding generosity. And it starts out with a strange one. Verse 15, whoever puts up security for a stranger will surely suffer, but whoever refuses to shake hands in pledge is safe. Now, this is warning against going a guarantor for a loan, for a stranger, for someone you don't know or understand, or someone that you can't trust. It's saying it's not a good idea because you're probably going to fall into trouble because of this kind, maybe generous, but also rash decision. It's telling us to be wise with our money, and it's mentioned a few other times in Proverbs. But does this mean that we should become frugal, that we should keep our hard-earned money for ourselves? We've worked hard for it, other people should do the same. I'm going to keep it to myself. Well, the next few Proverbs are going to tell us, well, definitely not. Verses 24 to 26. One person gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. Verse 25, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Verse 26, people curse the one who hoards grain, but they pray God's blessing on the one who is willing to sell. These verses are speaking about the importance of generosity. God and others will see your generosity and will look favorably upon it, and you may be rewarded or blessed or loved by others because of it. But God honors it because you're in line with his heart. The lesson we get here is to be generous, but also to be wise in our generosity, but not wise at the expense of our generosity. The two go hand in hand. So I want to ask you, how wise are you with your generosity? Are you being generous in a way that may lead to paternalism or that may further harm the receiver? Great book to think about, to read when you're thinking about that is When Helping Hurts. I think there's a copy somewhere at church. Come and hit me up about it. So how wise are you? Or how generous are you? Are you sharing lovingly with those around you, mirroring the heart of God for generosity? Seek God's heart for wisdom and generosity in this regard. And finally, we've seen the danger of dishonesty. We've seen the wisdom surrounding being generous. And now, finally, we're warned of the limits of money. Verse 4, Wealth is worthless in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. Verse 28, those who trust in their riches will fall, but the righteous will thrive like a green leaf. You see, both these verses are warning us that although money is helpful, it is not beneficial morally or spiritually. It can't save your life. It can't justify you. You can't take it with you. Only righteousness can save you and justify you. Only righteousness will be taken with you when you die. As Paul tells us in Romans, that the righteousness that is spoken of in these Proverbs, this righteousness comes from faith, through faith in Jesus Christ. And so before we work hard to settle our bank balances and make sure that we're financially secure and our children are taken care of, we are to come before Jesus and ensure that our eternal spiritual security is dealt with, that our children's spiritual stuff is dealt with as well, that it's more to providing for yourself or your family than financially. Otherwise, money will get us nowhere in this life or the next when we put it as our foundation, as our God, and as the thing that we rely upon to survive and find life. Jesus finishes his Sermon on the Mount with a reminder of this, doesn't he? He gets us to consider what we are building our lives on, and I want to finish by reading that. Matthew 7:24-27. Short parable, therefore. Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice, well, he is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. May God empower you to approach money with honesty, wisdom, and generosity, and may he draw your eyes to be captivated by his Son, the only firm foundation. Amen.